Hi, my name's Cameron, and I'm going to answer question 1 of the 7 evaluation questions. Characters. In our opening sequence, we have 3 characters. All 3 go with the usual themes, as there is a protagonist, Jason, an antagonist, the guy in the biker helmet, and a damsel in distress, Katie. Our main antagonist is a typical villain. He is a relatively big guy. His costume is a plain suit. This makes him more frightening and menacing, because he is this big dark figure, and you never see his face. He also does not say anything in the first 2 minutes. This creates tension and suspense, as this makes the audience believe that something is not right with him, and he is out of the ordinary. This goes against the conventions of a normal thriller film, because the antagonist usually has dialogue, like for example Norman Bates in Psycho. Katie, who is our damsel in distress, goes with the conventions of usual thriller films, as she is the person who Jason has to go and save, a damsel in distress, like for example in Taken. But Katie, in some respects, does not fit the usual conventions because she is strong and well paid. She does not have to rely on Jason to keep her safe. She can protect herself. As for example, when she is cooking in the kitchen, in the flashback scene, she is the one making the dinner. Also, her costume shows that she is a strong woman that can take care and defend herself. As you can see, when there is a knock on the door, she does call to Jason, but she also afterwards goes to the door where that scary noises happened, showing that she is brave. Jason, who is our main antagonist, is a typical protagonist for thriller movies. This is because he is courageous and he knows how to handle both himself and a gun, and he knows how to deal with the antagonist. An example of a protagonist like this can be from Taken, like Brian Miller and Sherlock Holmes, etc. This is because in fact he's a secret agent, so he knows how to use a gun, but his costume in the chasing goes against the usual conventions of thriller films, as it makes him seem like a typical person, like Reese in Silence of the Lambs. Both of them have a small physique, but on the inside they are strong. This makes it more relatable to the audience and encourages them to do something with their lives because they can relate to him. Music. The main theme of our music is that it's fast paced, like for movies such as Batman: The Dark Knight. This makes it more interesting for the audience as it keeps them interested in the plot. We got this idea from Hitchcock's movies, which uses intense music to build up a scene. We decided to use parallel music. This makes the audience know that something's wrong when the music is playing. We also made it so the antagonist does not have any dialogue. This adds to the fear factor, as it creates more suspense compared to when an antagonist does speak. This makes him seem out of the ordinary and creates tension. This is an example of something that does not fit the conventions of a usual thriller film. Another thing that goes against the conventions is that we decided to change the tempo of the music, from high tempo music during the chase scene to low quiet music during the flashback scene. So the mood of the movie changes. It gives the audience a chance to know more about the characters themselves. When Jason faints, the music suddenly changes from fast to slow, makes the audience feel more comfortable. The music picks back up again when the biker appears in the flashback. It does go against typical movie conventions. Another movie we got inspiration from, for example, is Taken, as when the bad guy, the antagonist, hides away and the musical goes all quiet and silent. This increases tension and suspense, as you know something's going to happen and the music's going to flare back up again. We decided to use camera shots from our research stage and preliminary tasks and movies such as Taken. For example, we use point of view shots. We use them in the chase scene to create tension. The audience does not know what is around the corner, and it makes them get involved in the film. And it makes the audience move around with the film, like in real life. Like in the movie Jaws, when the shark, Jaws, is swimming up to attack the girl when she is swimming. And in our film, when Jason runs out and sees the bike, so the audience knows what is happening, so they have an in-depth knowledge of what is happening, where he's going to run. We did use a tracking shot, but we eventually cut it out due to it not being in tune with what we were trying to create. One camera shot that we used that went against the usual conventions was a sped up zoom in. This is portrayed how Jason recognised the guy in the bike helmet. How Jason is trying to think about it. It is also used to represent how the mind is zooming in and how he's trying to think. Like Jason's mind is getting closer and closer on like do I remember that guy? Do I recognise him? And he's slowly recognising him. This shows he has a relation with this guy. And because the camera is fading out, this shows that he cannot remember much of his former life fully. And it gives him the motivation of trying to find out what has happened to him. What has happened to his family, his wife, his house, and all that stuff. Location / setting. For the chase scene, we wanted for the location to be isolated. This makes the protagonist more vulnerable. For our opening sequence, we use Bluebell Forest. It is a dark location and is on a one-way road. This makes it so there are not many places to run. This creates limited decisions. It is very discreet. The wood is very small, which is not really a problem during filming, as we wanted this scene to be an intense chase, and there not to be many plot holes during the scene. The way he had to run down the road, and the location helped us do this, because it's only one way, meaning he can't run any other way. And the fact that it is an isolated location, like Misery, makes him seem helpless, and helps him more look like an underdog. The flashback scene location is a usual place to have dinner. We use a family member's house to film. Katie and Jason live in a fairly big house. Their costume make it seem like a big house, because they're dressed very formally. The doors also make it look like a big house, because there are many doors that makes you convey that it's a big house, because there's many doors that can lead to many different rooms. This goes against conventions of thriller films, as like in Marine 4, the protagonist usually lives in a small apartment. When everything goes wrong, it is good for them to look back to see how much they've lost. The location, the setting, is set in Slovakia. This is where Katie is doing a report. This place is full of dangerous enemies, and this is where Katie's doing an interview. And Jason and Katie are in a different location than what they're used to back in England. This makes it their goal to get back home. The flashback scene is set in England, Essex. The audience can relate to this because most of the audience who would watch it will live in England. But they have a big house and a lot of money. But we didn't have to show all that, as they live in a big mansion in Essex. Because of the way they dress and the cutlery and how high class they were, this conveys that they live in a bigger house. Like in Taken, when Brian Miller, who lives in a big house, but when his daughter gets taken, everything goes wrong. And he has to travel to Paris, as now he's in a different location, which makes him at a disadvantage. Allows for him, like Jason's Brian, to work up towards giving an underdog spirit to the character. Storyline. Our storyline is like many other thriller films, and it has a plot twist. It has a protagonist, antagonist, and damsel in distress. A brief description of the plot is that Jason has lost his memory and is being chased by a man in a helmet. He also is trying to figure out what has happened to him and his family, as he's being constantly chased by this guy in the biker helmet. He gets constant flashbacks, which gives him motivation because of him seeing his wife and his unborn child and his house and his past life. A storyline does follow many other conventions. Like Taken, the protagonist is chasing after the antagonist and also trying to save the damsel in distress. It does go in depth with characters like Memento. Jason loses his memory. He has flashbacks which help him get closer to saving his wife. Our film has 3 acts like other films, which makes it easy to follow for the audience. It gives a break for the audience from the chase scene, the flashback scene. This makes the audience want to know what happened. What will happen? Will he find his wife and get his memories back? We use a lot of our own ideas, but we also took inspiration from other films like Taken to help improve our film, especially in the storyline area. Mise-en-scène. We wanted the costume and props to be realistic, so the audience can know that this could happen in real life. The gun we used was a BB gun, which was metal. This makes it more lifelike, and it gives the impression that Joe, the actor who played Jason, was handling a real gun. The meal we used during the flashback scene was soup. This conveys that things were deteriorating at home. Our initial idea was for him to have a big roast dinner, but because of our filming schedule, it took too long to make the roast dinner, so we decided to go with soup, which was cheaper and quicker to make. The costume portrays the stature of the characters. There are formal and casual clothes, so this conveys that they are in control of their lives, compared to the chase scene, where Jason's costume is very ripped and dirty and is being chased, meaning that he doesn't have much control over what he's doing. The suit to the guy in the biker helmet is a typical representation of an antagonist. It makes the protagonist look like an underdog, because we wanted to show the connection to Jason in the flashback, where he's wearing a suit himself. That it shows that they've worked together because they're both wearing suits. Like in Focus, Will Smith's character wears a fashionable suit. As he gambles a lot, he wears a suit because he's rich, and the suit also conveys that he has a lot of money. And this contrasts to the chase scene, as Jason is in a very scrappy outfit, meaning that his life is taking a turn for the worst.